Today's video is going to be a little bit of a filler video until I have time to come up with some, sort of original content and something more useful. And what I wanted to do here is just to show some of these sort of cheap, in quotes, lab equipments that I got in the past couple of months, which I find them very useful, and because they don't cost a whole lot of money, and I thought, this could be useful for you, especially with some of the additions that I've made. Actually, I'm going to talk about two different things. The first is this one, which is a programmable DC to DC converter. So that's basically like a adjustable power supply, and there are many different variations of this. I have the model which is up to 50 volts and 5 amps, but if you want more, there are similar ones with different insides that can do higher amperage. And the other one is this component tester, which is one of the many variations that you can find on the internet. This is probably one of the more expensive ones, and I'm going to talk about why I have picked this one. When you buy the power supply, it only contains this unit basically, which is the screen and the controls, and all the electronics are behind it. I haven't used it for a couple of months because I couldn't really figure out how to put it into a box or something that I can use, so it's not just cables around. And this came up in Banggood like after 6 months, and it's like, oh great, at least I don't have to worry about it, so I just bought it. And yeah, it's quite nice. It's an all like a folded metal sheet with 3 screws on each side, and then it also has a fan and the power switch and these banana plugs. And initially there were 2 banana plugs for input and 2 for the output. And I knew that I want to repurpose my old power supply from my laptop, which died about a year ago, and I didn't throw it out because I knew I would need it at some point. And so this is just the usual one, like 18.5 volts, 3.5 amps. It's a 65 watt power supply, and even though that the unit can handle input voltages anything up to 50 volts, no, 40 I think. Well, actually I put it here, yeah, 6 to 40 volts. I thought that, well, I don't really need the higher voltage range, so I can just use this power supply. Over the years that over the couple of months that I used it, I realized that obviously I need another input jack, so I can just easily plug in the laptop power supply. So I just put this new, I think it's a 2.5mm barrel jack. So I just replaced the standard Dell plug because it's just like a weird things that I couldn't get a plug socket for. So I still have the option to connect any external power supply, or to just plug in the laptop power brick, and then the output is here. So there were a couple of leads with a banana plug at the end and the crocodile clip on the other side that was provided with the whole kit, so I can just plug it in here. But in most cases I just use something like, simple, like a barrel jack. So I got this thingy also, I think, in Banggood, which is just a piece of lead with a 2.5mm barrel plug on it, and then I got all these different extensions also in a kit. So if I need to power anything which has any of these weird plugs, these really small ones, or the one with a pin in the middle, or I mean, I probably haven't seen most of these, but so and I have all the options. So this was a nice piece of kit, like everything in a one single package. So I bought this one, and also, sorry, I got these others, which I think is used for CCTV cameras. So one side is a barrel jack, and the other one is simple screw terminals. And I have, so I have males, and I also have female version. So it comes in handy in some projects. By the way, I realized yesterday that I forgot to record one of the segments, so I'm re-recording this part the next day. So you have seen this box without labels, and now it has labels, and then later in the video I'm going to tell you about that it's a good idea to have it labeled. So the only reason for that, because I needed to re-record this segment. Going back to the enhancements, the box comes with a fan, and it's not a temperature controlled fan. So when the unit turns on, the fan automatically comes on, and it spins up to like a fixed RPM, and it's not awfully loud, but when you have it running for a couple of minutes, or I'm doing videos, then it just gets a little bit irritating. So I've added this switch which basically just disables the fan. It's in line with the fan wire, because in most cases I'm just using low power things. I'm testing some really simple boards, a couple of 100 milliamps, and there is not much heat being generated by this unit. And by the way, there are some grills on the front and on the top, so there is sufficient ventilation without a fan. And if I were testing something high power, obviously I would flick the fan on. So my latest addition or the last addition to this box is this board here, which I picked up like ages ago, and it looks like this, and it's like I think to use for like a deep packaged IC. But the reason I wanted to use this because it has all this connection connected together on the back side. So I just added all sorts of pin headers and these terminals, and I thought that I can just if I need to, I can easily connect a component up to it, and oops, yeah, and the LED lights up. Or I can use these to connect DuPont cables or jumper wires, and it would have been better if that would be on the top, but there is not enough space here, so it's a little bit difficult to handle like this. And so, for example, I have this LED, I have like 3 volts, which is probably a little bit too high, but I can just easily measure the current draw. So that's 10 milliamps, not a lot. So again, hopefully it's going to make my life easier. I've taken this apart just to show you what I have done. When you got the box, well, the top half of the box, or the enclosure, is nothing much. So it's just basically just the metal shell, and that's the DSP module. DSP, yeah. So that's the module. You get it like this, and then you get the other half of the connector. So it's actually quite nice because it's easy to take the whole case apart if it needs servicing, which normally I don't think it would, but anyway. So this slots in from the front. So all I have done is I drilled a hole on the side. I put this wire in with the strain relief, I think it's called. I hot glued in the inside, and I put some super glue on the outside, which spilled a little bit. By the way, previously when I've shown all these different connectors, they plug onto the 2.5 mil barrel plug. So that's how it works. Okay, so back to the case. So the drill this hole, this lead comes through here, and I drilled a few more other holes here to mount the PCB, and I have this plastic nylon standoffs and nylon screws. I think they are all M3. So I drilled 4 holes in the 4 corners. So the hole in the PCB was pre-drilled, and I drilled another one for the cables. And I realized that I can't use the bolts on the other side here, because that would interfere with the lower part of the case, which has this lip. So that just got a little bit of super glue, and then the top ones are held in with a nylon nut. And in order to make it easily serviceable, I have soldered a male pin header. Well, just pins, just a normal 0.1 inch spacing pins to both. And then on the other side, on the other side I have some pin headers. So looking at the inside box, let me just zoom in on it. Yeah. So what you get in the standard package is you get the fan, the 4 banana jacks, the main switch and then this PCB, which I think is probably like a voltage regulator for the fan. It's probably nothing really else. And also the different connection points for the switch and everything. So this all comes in a box. So basically you take the PCB, you screw it into the internal, well, the input banana jacks, which are these ones. And all I have done is I have added this basically second input connection, so the barrel jack, and it also connects into the negative and the positive of the input terminals. And then you have these two top terminals which goes into the fan, and I just basically put like a very simple switch in between. And then you have the two main terminals down in the bottom which go up to the main switch. The cables that were provided, so the black and the red cables were provided, so they were just a little bit too short, so I should have used like a slightly longer cable, so it comes out like this, so I could put the heat shrink on, because it just doesn't go on like this 90 degree. But anyway, there is no other metal objects inside the box, so it's not going to short out, so I think it's, yeah, fine. And yeah, so on the output terminals, I solder these leads in for the female header. So this goes into the side barrel jack and the front PCB, and then of course you can use the banana plugs on the front. And last was to connect the screw terminal which goes into the back of the power supply. So, and it is clearly labeled, which you probably can see. So basically in plus, in minus, out plus. So it's a really simple thing of wiring the output, which is basically these two banana plugs, and the input ones, which are clearly labeled on the small PCB as plus and minus. So it's really simple. It's nothing really complicated. It's more like, you know, physical work other than electronics. It's just putting a kit together. The instruction on the Banggood page were not really clear, and also they are selling this kit for this kind of power supply, and there is a different version, and so the internals of that are slightly different, even though the kits are exactly the same. So again, you just have to make sure which one you are following, but it's quite clear based on the parts that you get in the kit. So the second one is a component tester, and again, this is something which exists in hundreds of, if not almost, well, thousands of different variations over eBay, and it usually comes in with pretty much the same functionality. So you have this lockable socket, I think it's called the zip socket, and so you put your whatever component in here, and it has 3 inputs. You can use any of these inputs based on the spacing of your component, and you click on start, and then it will tell you whether it's like a diode or a transistor or something else. So if I have my LEDs connected between here, you just click on start, and it's going to boot up, and it's going to tell you that this is a diode, which is, well, the LED is a diode. And most importantly, the one thing I always forget is what is the forward voltage of the diode, which is needed to calculate the resistor, because I just buy them in eBay, and I just put somewhere in my component drawer, and you know, after a couple of months I would forget where I bought it from, so I wouldn't know what the forward voltage is, and these do vary, especially for the high power LEDs. So again, it's probably not a very accurate tester, but for applications like this, to tell you what's the forward voltage of the diode, or to check the pins of like a transistor, this is really good. And the reason I picked up this one, because there are definitely much cheaper models than this, is well, the display is nice, but that's not really the main reason. But it has a lithium battery inside, so it comes with a really short USB, and it's a micro USB lead. Thank you very much. and you just plug it in and charge it up. So, and these units usually run on a 9-volt battery, and I don't have any 9-volt batteries. Well, maybe I have, but I rarely do. So, and again, it's just nice not to worry about the battery. So you just throw it into your box, and well, I'm pretty sure that this battery would last, you know, hundreds of different tests, because then it powers off automatically. So again, a little bit of extra money, but I think it, you know, if you can afford it, definitely worth it. It even comes with a few accessories that I haven't even opened. So it's, oh, I don't know what's called, these things that you can clip on, connections, and then you can just slot them in there. If you want to test something which is already, I don't know, soldered in or something, or just too big to fit in here. I'm doing this screen capture from my new laptop, which has a much better resolution, so hopefully you will have a much nicer image in full HD. But for some reason it has like a big ass fan, which for no apparent reason sometimes it just spins up. So if you hear any background noise, it's the fan of the laptop, so I'm sorry about that. But let's look at the listings. And the first one, let's deal with the what is it, the component tester first. So it's, as I said, it's the Dainu LCR-TC1. So it's a 1.8-inch color display, and well, it was 3488, but well, at the moment it's 2353, which is still like a good, you know, 5 times as much as the cheapest one. And if you actually look at the video, which is here, once it disassembled, it's pretty much the same as, you know, any of the cheap ones, as far as I can tell. So like there is an Atmel. Obviously, this has some additional circuitry to charge the LiPo battery, which powers the whole thing. But again, I think this LiPo thing is a nice feature, and it's it definitely adds value. Again, I'm not sure if you want to, if it worth the money for you. So I got this on Banggood actually, and you can see the stuff here, and it also comes with a small instruction manual, but you can see the instruction as well, and it does the usual things. And apparently, I've never tested it, it also has an infrared functionality, so it can detect the codes coming from infrared remotes, which could be nice in some circumstances, but I mainly went for the because of the internal battery, which I think it was is quite useful. So that's the function component tester. The next one is let's look at the power supply. So actually, I bought my power supply on eBay quite a long time ago. So it's more than a year ago, and so it was £18.96, and so I have the DP30V5A, so it's 30 volts 5 amps. And if I look at it on Banggood again, it is available on Banggood. I guess that's about the same price, maybe it's a little bit higher here, but that's usual. I mean, eBay tends to be a little bit cheaper than Banggood if you can find the same item. So again, you can read the main specs here. So 6 to 14 volts input, 0 to 32 volts output, 5 amp max, and the dimension, which is not really relevant. And by the way, this is the bigger sister, so it's 50-20, so that would be 50 volts, 20 amps. So as you can see, it comes with the actual board is a separate board, which is connected with 2 ribbon cables with the display, which is exactly the same as this one. And again, here you get some instructions in the box as well, but you get the instructions here as well, and basic wiring and how to, you know, to navigate the screen and set the do the settings and everything. I probably still haven't used most of the functionality which is in here. So that was nice, and this must have been on sale when I bought it, so I probably paid a little bit less than this. Well, actually, sorry, you have seen how much I paid for it. Next one is the box. By the way, I'm going to put all the links into the video description. But again, you know, just googling this on Banggood, you will. It should be quite easy to find this product. So the next one is the enclosure, the metal box, and as you can see, it's suitable for all these different models, and it's about 20 US and sometimes less. And so again, there are 2 different variants. So this is the variant with the with the larger unit or the more powerful unit, and that's the variant which I got, which is the, but there is no the board, it's everything is, you know, just under the display. And yeah, again, you get a video about how to put it together. It's quite easy, to be honest. And then you have the parts list for variation A and B, and then yeah, so again, this is that's my version, and that's how it looks with the bigger board, and you can see the dimensions here. So yeah, it's all nice. I quite like it. So next one is the two pieces of 2.1mm DC jack conversion to screw plugs, which is mostly used in CCTV cameras, but I think it's a quite nice, it's a generic product. It's nice to have around in the lab. This one next is the AC/DC jack connector pack for laptops and other, you know, devices. So again, that's the lead which I've mounted, or you know, which comes through the side of the box, and these are the different plugs that I showed in the video earlier. There's not much in the, you know, in the video description. Sorry, in the listing. These are my nylon spacers, so M3 spacers, washers, screws, and nuts. Oh, sorry, no washers, so screws and nuts. Yeah, probably you can still find these on eBay as well. And again, DC plugs, but this is the female one converting to what is it, screw sockets. And sometimes I have to remind myself to use my labor printer, which I did now, so it looks much better than before. By the way, did you notice that I had these banana plug ends on the wrong way around? It was the red was here and the black was here. Well, it's fixed now. Probably last note is, because I'm using like an 18-watt laptop power supply, I can't really use the full output range of this device, so it can go up to like 40 volts on the input and 32 on the output. But with an 18 volts in, well, 18.7 volts in, I can still get about 17 volts out, which is pretty good enough for me. I mean, like, probably I go up to like 12 volts to test LED strips, so that's enough. But if you want to use the full potential, get something which is like, you know, closer to 40 volts. I think that will be in about power supply and the component tester. So thanks for watching, and see you next time.